Welcome to the #1 show and the source of truth for all things MedTech. Here, we reveal the secrets and stories behind the investments, science, and commercialization of the MedTech industry. Every week, we'll take you on a wild ride with the biggest names in the game, from entrepreneurs and investors who are shaking up the market to healthcare providers who are revolutionizing the way we think and practice medicine. So hold on tight and get ready for a journey like no other. This is the State of MedTech. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. And so this episode is going to be one of many, which is I focus on biohacking and optimizing you as a rep. I think this is applicable no matter who you are. Me as an entrepreneur, I see what I do no different than a sport. You know, I have to optimize my body and my mind so that I can have the most output and throughput in what I do. But I think this is even more relevant for reps because this is why I say medical sales is one of the most difficult jobs on planet Earth, because probably less than 20% of your time is spent actually selling. If you think about it, you're doing a lot of admin work, you're running around covering cases, you're driving, so like the actual time you spend selling is even less, right? So you that's difficult enough, but also the job is physically demanding. And so in this, I want to talk about the first step of, I think, truly optimizing performance, which is sleep, okay? And I think there's a variety of things that come along with optimizing sleep. And if you follow me online, you've probably seen a variety of things that I've read. I've consumed so much. I mean, aside from going to medical school, I've consumed so much in the biohacking area. And so I've really optimized, like, what are the things that I can focus on that actually give me a longer life and improve my longevity? And I pretty much boiled it down to two things. And it's stress management and sleep, which kind of go hand in hand. If you get those two things right, like your ability to increase your output on a daily basis, be more fulfilled, healthier, like all those things kind of fall into place. So let's start with that. So first, before we do, I just want to give a quick shout out to one of my products, which is the Medical Sales Network Effects Program. In that, it's a 55 plus video course that you own the content. You can watch it as many times as you want, plus a private group for networking, plus a live coaching call every week. That was a $3,000 course. It's on sale right now for $19.97. Check the show notes below. Invest in yourself. Get into that. It's one way to get closer to me. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, I also have a coaching offer. Just hit me up. I don't take everybody for that, but there's a little bit of an application process, so you can just DM me. So, all right, let's get into it. So let's first of all start out with a very simple, I want to give you like a very simple takeaway for better sleep. Okay. So if you don't do anything, if you follow these steps for sleep, you'll sleep better. Okay. And I'm going to go into more detail, but follow these steps and remember it: 10, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. So 10 hours before bed, do not drink any caffeine. Okay. It's going to be very difficult. Okay. But do not drink any caffeine. And so that means you should probably not have any more caffeine after 12 or 1 o'clock. Okay. Do not have any caffeine. 3 hours prior to sleep, you are not going to eat or drink anything other than water. Okay. I know we get confused with the parasympathetic system about resting. If you eat, you activate the parasympathetic system of rest and digest. Remember, parasympathetic system is rest and digest, not sleep and digest. So eating before bed, not smart, actually. It really disrupts your sleep. Okay. 2 hours before bed, you will not work. This is a hard one. Do not open your email. Do not, read business books. Do not read self-development books. Anything that's going to stimulate your mind, do not do it. Okay. 1 hour prior to sleep, do not expose yourself to screens. Okay. Your phone, computer, TV, just turn it all off. Okay. And then 0, which is going to be really the number of times you're going to have to hit the snooze button. If you follow those steps, you will have better sleep. Now, let's get into a little bit more detail about things you can do. Okay. And these are things that I've experimented with. If there's one thing that I focused on optimizing, it's my sleep. So first of all, let's start with tracking. I recommend for all of you to invest in some kind of a tracker. I use Whoop, which, by the way, I'm thinking about making a MedRep Whoop group so we can all be on a team. But you can use Whoop, you can use an Oura Ring, something that's going to track you. And mainly because of sleep. Because when you're sleeping, what you want to see is how many times are you waking up at night, your heart rate variability, which is the difference between your sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Because the smaller that number, that means the less of a difference there is between you in fight and flight mode or rest and digest, which is not good. Okay, so start with that, which is tracking. Okay, because a lot of you might think you're getting really good sleep. In reality, you're probably not. Okay, and you're not going to know this until you track it. And again, as one of the greatest management consultants that ever lived, Peter Drucker, who, by the way, if you haven't read it, I'll have to cover it. Read his book, Managing Oneself. It is 50 pages long. It's like one of the best books you can read for career development. As Peter Drucker says, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Okay. Now, let's go with your environment when it comes to sleeping. Okay. So, because you have to understand, the more you understand the way your mind works, the more you're able to optimize it. And again, everything stems from sleep. Okay. You know, they've shown countless and countless studies about how bad it is to lose sleep. You will literally reduce your life expectancy if you sleep less. And by sleeping less, I mean like just getting an hour or two less sleep than you need. If you're below the age of 30, you need like 9 hours of sleep, 8-9 hours. As you get older, you need a little bit less. But even me at age 37, I make sure to get about 8 hours of sleep a night. I used to be very big on waking up like 5 a.m. in the morning and everything. I stopped doing that this past year because I realized how important sleep is. So I'll actually sleep in a little bit. So these days, you know, I go to bed, like I get into bed like at 9 o'clock. I have trouble falling asleep, which I'm still working on. And I wake up naturally at like 6-ish. Okay, sometimes earlier, but I don't use alarms anymore. Okay, so let's go into some things in terms of what you need to do to optimize your sleep environment. So first thing is controlling light exposure. So first thing is avoiding blue lights. Okay, so you want to minimize your exposure to screens. Okay, because those blue lights, and again, 2 hours before bedtime. And if anything, you can do what I do. I wear blue light blocking glasses, or if you don't wear glasses, you can go online and get these glasses that literally have a red filter or orange filter on them and wear those at night. Okay, it's kind of annoying, but again, that orange hue is something that's going to kind of indicate to your body like the sun is setting, that it's time for sleep. When you have bright light and blue light, right, it confuses your brain to think that it is daylight, and that's why it makes it harder to go to bed. Okay, the second thing is dim your lights. Okay, so in my home, both my wife and I are doing this, and my parents hate it because they like everything bright. But what we do the moment the sun sets is that we only have certain lamps on in the home. We dim our lights down so that way it's like you can feel like it's time to go to bed. Okay, so make sure you dim your lights. There's no reason to blast bright lights at home. Okay, and then the very last thing, on at least in the lighting part, is consider using red lights. Right, red lights can improve relaxation. They can also just the seeing red lights, which even includes putting on red lens glasses, can increase the production of melatonin, which is the hormone in your body that helps you go to sleep. Okay, something that you can consider doing, which I have it in my office when we move houses. I want to do this and throughout the entire house. Hue, HUE, which I think Hue is owned by GE. Hue light bulbs or smart light bulbs. There's other smart light bulbs. You can get those and set it up so that there's a timer. So in the evening, it goes red. So for example, when you walk into my room or into my bedroom at night after 7 o'clock, all the lights, my lamp, I even have this floor lamp, it's all red. Okay. So that's what I want you to think about for your lighting. Now let's dive into the nutrition side. Okay. So we talked about limiting caffeine. So 10 hours. Okay, 10 hours. Really, honestly. If you it's in the afternoon and you're feeling sluggish and everything, do other things. Do like what's called pistol breathing, which is like breathing in and out of your nose very fast, like that. You can do some push-ups, some exercises. And again, the other thing is you have to ask yourself, why are you feeling tired? Okay. One of the things that you want to do when you wake up in the morning is do not drink coffee immediately. Like at least give yourself an hour and a half, 2 hours. The reason why is that you have these things that are called adenosine receptors. When these things are active, right, adenosine is attached to them, and you want that to wear off a little bit. If you take caffeine, those adenosine receptors are still active, right, and the caffeine prolongs them being deactivated, which means that when you come off the caffeine high a few hours later, those adenosine receptors are still active and then you still feel tired. Okay. Which is why when you wake up, you want to give yourself a few hours before you go and get that coffee. I know it's going to be hard. Trust me, you'll thank me for it later. Okay. Next thing, try and avoid like really heavy, large meals before bed. You need, again, 2 to 3 hours to digest. So for me, what I've started doing, one is that from time to time, I'll do intermittent fasting, which means that I'll wake up in the morning, do my routine. I'll have some coffee. Sometimes I'll do coffee with what's called MCT8 oil, right, which is good for satiation, but doesn't break a fast. And I'll break my fast at 12 o'clock. So from 12 to 6, I eat wherever I want. I try to have my heaviest meal in the middle of the day, okay? So that way you have plenty of time to digest that food, okay? Now, the other thing that I really recommend is in the evenings, consider taking a magnesium supplement. Magnesium supplements are really good for promoting like muscle relaxation. And there's a lot of good science behind magnesium supplementation when it comes to sleep, okay? The one thing I will warn you, though, is that sometimes when you take magnesium, depending on who you are, it can give you pretty wild dreams. Maybe you might like that kind of thing. Next thing when it comes to sleep, temperature regulation. Okay. This is a tough one because like for me, I'm married. My wife gets cold very easily. So ideally, you want to maintain a bedroom temperature between 60 and 68 degrees. Really, really hard to do in my home. There's like no way I can get my wife to do that. So a couple things that I do is that I have a device called BedJet. BedJet is a device that essentially it's a little thing that goes, like a thing that goes under my bed. It's like a fan, but it has a little tube that goes up and connects to this like double quilted sheet and blows cold air. And I get it down to 68 degrees. Now also because my wife is heroically sleeping with the baby, I have the bedroom to myself. So I'll open my window at night and get the temperature down to 68 degrees, okay? Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is a great thing to do to help with falling asleep, is a sudden drop in temperature, okay? So for me, sometimes in the evenings, I'll go to my local gym and go sit in the sauna for just like 15 minutes, and then just, 20 minutes, nice sauna session, come home. A lot of times that's not convenient, so I will just do a hot shower. Okay, so when you do a hot shower, this promotes a drop in your core body temperature, like when you get out of the shower, of course, and that indicates and signals to your body that it's time to sleep. So again, making the body very, very hot shower, sauna, getting out, getting into that cool bed, and then falling asleep. Other trick that I recommend doing is in the evening time, open your bed sheets, right, and open your window if you have a window in your bedroom. That way you can allow cold air to start hitting those sheets and everything. You get in, again, that temperature drop is going to really help you fall asleep. Okay. Now, probably the most effective thing what I found when it came to measuring my sleep in terms of how fast I fell asleep, my heart rate variability, and my deep sleep and REM. Okay. So there's different levels of sleep. REM, or rapid eye movement, is one of them, which many of you know about. But below that, there's deep sleep. Okay, which is also equally very, very important. So to improve these things, right, mindfulness and relaxation is really helpful. So one thing that I do is deep breathing. So engage in deep, slow breathing exercises to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. There's this thing that I use called a heart math monitor, connects to my earlobe, and essentially it teaches you the practice of getting your heart in sync with your brain. There's an actual science of like syncing your, like an EEG for your brain and EKG for your heart, and syncing that up for real-time heart rate variability. The easiest way that I can describe this is that all you got to do is breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and imagine yourself breathing into your heart. So you want to imagine your heart pumping and you're breathing literally into that, and focus on that. One of the things that this heart math monitor has taught me is that because it'll tell you when I'm not in sync, is because I start thinking about something else, right? So the whole idea of mindfulness is actually on one side, mindfulness is really about allowing your mind to just race and you just sit down and observe. In the evening times, I try and quiet my mind, which is, really focused through breathing and everything. Okay. The other thing that I recommend is, again, aside from avoiding screens, limit stimulating content. So what does that mean? This is going to be tough, but again, my friends, Monday through Friday, optimize for yourself to have, think of yourself like an athlete. Every day is a day to win. And so you want to optimize for that. And so that means at night, you want to avoid intense movies. You don't want to watch the news, stimulating discussions before bed. So a lot of times, like if my dad, for example, sometimes my dad and I have all kinds of interesting discussions. Sometimes we have debates. When he wants to have a call and it's like past 8 o'clock, I'm like, hey, Dad, can we just talk tomorrow? Like, unless it's an emergency, so I try and avoid those kind of things, right? And this also includes and I've tested this, a couple hours before bed. And again, I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else. Scrolling through Instagram or YouTube, it's dangerous because you have no idea when something's going to pop up on your screen that's going to be very stimulating to your subconscious, and it's going to make it harder to fall asleep. I remember doing this one time where I had done my routine to go to bed very well, like didn't eat, all these things, but I opened up YouTube and I was scrolling through shorts and I saw a short of like some like lions hunting something, right? And it was like a really graphic video, and I was like, all right. And the next day, my sleep, my heart rate variability and recovery were bad. And that was literally the only variable I can identify that caused that. Okay. Now, when it comes to physical activity, this is another tough one. I recommend not doing workouts at night. I know that's tough for many of you because of your schedules. And so if you have to, try and get it in as early as possible, 6 o'clock, 7, like as far out from your bedtime as possible. Okay. And if anything, I would really recommend to consider working hard. Like instead of working around your schedules, what you need to try and do is work around your sleep. Okay. Which means many of you, instead of, working out at 7, 8 o'clock at night, force yourself to get in a habit of going to bed that early and waking up early to get your exercise in. It's way better. And again, there's things to be said about that as well. Sometimes working out in the morning is not as easy because, your cortisol levels are a little bit higher. You're not as warmed up, but I'll tell you what, that's better to optimize for that than to de-optimize your sleep. When it comes to like evening time physical activity, I think, light stretching is a really good idea to relax the muscles, relax the mind. Again, the whole purpose of your evening routine is how do I get my mind and my body to physically relax? Okay. And now a couple more things, and I'm going to give you guys some tips. In terms of sleep environment, your bedroom, like even me, I'm trying to be better about this, should just be for two things. And sorry, just we're all adults here. Sex and sleep. That's it. You should not be working in your bedroom. You should not be doing anything. Even me, I used to like to read in bed. I stopped reading in bed because I cannot afford to allow my mind to associate the bed with anything other than sex and sleep. Okay. And so, change that routine in your bedroom. Okay. And you should do it so that, like, for example, my bedroom is one of the only rooms in the house that has carpet. I don't do anything else except sleeping in there. So when the moment my feet hit that carpet, my mind starts thinking like, oh, it must be time to sleep. Ensure your bedroom is as dark as possible. Like, consider using blackout curtains, and I would even wear a sleep mask. So for me, I wear a sleep mask, but I wear one that's a little bit thicker that even covers my ears, because inside of your ear, you actually have light receptors, right? So covering all that is going to be super important just to, induce sleep. In terms of noises, I get very restless. The other thing for many of you reps is that you travel a lot. So just by sleeping in a new environment, it does not help. Your brain doesn't like that. Okay. And so one thing I try and do to help that is that here at home and also when I'm on the road, I have a a white noise machine. It's a little thing. It's the size of my palm. I use that. I don't use my phone, which I'm going to get to in a moment. Okay. But I would use a white noise machine. You could try using earplugs. For me, I never liked earplugs because if I put them into my ears, I can hear myself breathing, you know? Again, I told you I'm a very light sleeper. And in terms of breathing and airways, breathing in your sleep is extremely important. There's been a large amount of studies, including books written about how bad breathing through your mouth is. It literally changes the facial structure of your face. If you listen to that episode with Sam Mahmood, we talked a lot about that even the quality of oxygen and the amount of oxygen that you get through your mouth versus your nose is a big difference. So what I recommend doing, tape your mouth. Okay, again, don't tape the entire mouth, because if you don't have lateral breathing for your mouth, you can have a dream and you'll panic. So I recommend just taking a piece of tape right over the front of your lips. Okay. Shameless plug. And again, I'm not an affiliate. I just love their products, but go to bettermouthtape.com. I love that Better Mouth Tape, and it's worth the money. It's not that expensive. It's, I think I paid $150 for like a whole year's supply worth of it. Okay. And the other thing, if you want to really go all out and optimize the breathing at night, there are devices. You can see that nose tapes that some people wear that lifts their nostrils up. There's also devices that go into your nose that expand the size of your nostril. That by itself can increase oxygen intake anywhere from 20 to 30%. So go ahead and do all those. I love using that. My problem is that with the ones that I've used, they always pop out. There's actually a device that I want to buy that literally looks like a vascular stent, but it's like for your nasal passageways. Like, I'm crazy about this stuff, Now, as for your phone, you want to limit EMFs, otherwise known as electromagnetic fields. So keep your electronic devices away from your bed, okay? And if possible, and I've experimented with this on and off, but Wi-Fi, I want to get back to it, but turn your Wi-Fi off at night, because these things do have an impact on your sleep. And if you're like me, for example, for me, I use my phone for meditation purposes and like exercises when I'm in bed. But next to my phone, I have a pouch. It's an RFID blocking pouch, but it's one of those cell phone pouches that when you put the cell phone in it, there's no signal to the phone or anything. That's what I usually do, because I don't want to get out of my bed. So I put my phone in that thing, and then I literally shove my phone into a drawer or below the my nightstand at night, so that there's distance from my phone. It's in a pocket. It's in a EMF blocking pocket. Right? Do these things. Okay, they do make a huge difference. And now, when it comes to supplements and tools, there's a lot of supplements out there. Somebody who I know who has a massive HRV, like over 150, they like to use Beam supplements, BEAM, which is a nighttime tea that has theanine and everything in it. I don't want to get too much into supplements on this talk, but for those of you who are trying to induce sleep and at least get into a consistent sleep schedule, melatonin can be good. I really don't like synthetic drugs or supplements, but sometimes they are good. So you can supplement with melatonin, theanine, and you can look up Andrew Huberman's, he has different recommendations. The other drug, which actually works extremely well, and when I was in medical school, they recommended this. The only thing is that it's only good for a few days, and it can make you a little bit groggy. But the first supplement or over-the-counter medication we would recommend to patients with sleep disorders is actually Benadryl. So you can use Benadryl or this one called Unisom, UNISOM, which is specifically made for sleep. It'll definitely knock you out. I recommend using half a pill. That's at least what I do. And try that. And again, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one, but you can talk to your doctor about this. But Unisom is over the counter. You can buy it on Amazon. So if you are trying to get a earlier sleep time, I would recommend using that a few days to get your mind and body in the habit of going to bed at that specific time. A lot of great sleep hygiene has to do with consistency. Okay. And so being consistent with these things is important. Now, something that I have not touched on which I don't know why it took me this long to get to this point, but alcohol. Guys and gals, alcohol is poison. I'm not, anti-alcohol. Anti-alcohol. I have a drink on rare occasions these days. I used to be a guy that loved having beers on the weekends and everything, but then I realized from, again, tracking my biometrics through Whoop, how much our alcohol has an effect on you. You can talk to cardiologists about this. They've known this for a long time, but just a few drops of alcohol, it tanks your heart rate variability, which the reason why I mentioned this is that you can have 100% sleep score, meaning that if your Whoop is saying you need 8-9 hours of sleep tonight and you get that 8-9 hours of sleep, that is not enough for full recovery. It's also the quality of sleep, and having any alcohol screws your quality of sleep up. So when it comes to during the week, abstain from alcohol, my friends. It's not worth it. Even if you go out to have dinner with a surgeon and everything, it's not worth it. You guys are all like top level athletes, and so the recovery part is so important. If you look at some of the great sports teams, like for example Manchester United, when Sir Alex Ferguson was there and they won all those titles, one of the reasons why that happened was that he started bringing in nutritionists and putting an active focus on recovery, right? And so now we have so much science around this for the sports side. This should also be translated into the business and entrepreneurial side. This whole concept of like, hey, just work, hustle, lose sleep and everything. It's not a good idea. It will do more damage than good, and you will not be fully optimized to perform at your best. And again, think about what you do for a living. You're in high stress environments. You're in surgeries where you have to be paying attention to every single kind of detail. You're going and only 20% of your time, if not less, is spent selling. And then when you do sell and when you're talking to a surgeon, you have a minute to really focus and pay attention to everything you're saying and doing and what that person is responding to. So for all these things, you want to fully optimize your level of mental clarity and how you feel, right? And again, if you like this episode, do me a big favor, like it on YouTube, comment below on Spotify or YouTube. Give me some feedback on this. But this is going to be a series that I want to do is specifically on optimizing your bodies for sales, right? Being a medical sales rep is not easy. It's physically very grueling. And I hate to say it, but there's some of you are friends of mine that have been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you don't look good, right? You don't look good. So it's never too late to start, but especially for you younger reps, these are the habits that you want to start building from now. As they say, habits of the mind, they're like chains. They're too strong to be broke until one day you wake up. They're I'm sorry. That's let me repeat that. So habits of the mind are just like chains. They're too weak to be felt until one day you wake up and they're too strong to be broken. So you want to develop those habits of the mind from now. And it all starts from sleep. Sleep optimization is, by the way, again, if there's from all my, I follow Andrew Huberman, I read Peter Attia's books, Ben Greenfield, my medical background, I've identified the two most important things to living a healthy life, a life that you optimize for full health and you minimize the chances for, any disease or issues. Great sleep and stress management. Obviously, that's not enough, I don't want to say that if you have great sleep and no stress, you're not, you're completely disease free. But those two things have an impact on a lot more than you realize, including when you go to sleep. You have I think a glial lymphatic system where literally your brain has a lymphatic system of its own that it essentially gets rid of a lot of inflammatory markers and toxins while you sleep, which is why like sleep deprivation is a form of torture, literally a form of torture. You can kill somebody with sleep deprivation. And if you think about it, it's because their brain is getting clogged up and overrun with more and more inflammation, inflammatory markers, toxins, everything. Because every night the brain needs to go into deep sleep to rid all of these things. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to share with you, which is less about sleep, right, but more about the science of goal setting and visualization, right? And just so you guys, I know you guys trust me, but I want to share with you exactly something that Andrew Huberman said, which is the science of goal setting and achievement shows and tells us, if you look at it, all the research is that number one is visualization. Visualizing success at the start is important. The second thing is visualizing failure consequences to maintain ongoing motivation is also another part. And number three, don't reward every milestone, making it random. And number four, learn to extend visual focus to enhance mental focus. So all that to be said is at nighttime, your brain is, when it's getting ready to fall asleep and also in the morning when it's getting ready to wake up, is in theta waves. This is when the brain is most impressionable, which is why these are terrible times for you guys to be using social media. So when you lay in bed at night, after you meditate, you relax, visualize a future that you really want as if it's already happened. Don't think about how or anything. So if you're trying to visualize like being, I'm going to make this up, the VP of sales, and you're making a lot of money, you have this great house, visualize how that would feel as if it already has happened. Like visualize as if you've already become that person. You're living in the house you're living in, that you want to live in. You've achieved all those things. The point is that you're visualizing having achieved it already, not the process of achieving it like as if it's already happened. Subconsciously, your mind starts to put itself as ease, but then it starts to believe that, right? Same thing you should do when you wake up. When you wake up, spend some time visualizing the kind of things you want to achieve in your life, right? Because then this is when the mind is most impressionable. Doing these things, again, will help set your mind in a state of clarity and stability, and more importantly, help you ease yourself into sleep. The very last thing I want to share with you is that for many of you who have trouble falling asleep, there was one sleep exercise they did, I think, with pilots who are in the military, who they need to make sure that they get sleep, but the environments that they were in is very difficult to sleep. So the way they would do it is they would start doing a body scan. So they would start with their feet, and you can tense up your feet and then release it. And as you release it, you kind of imagine your feet being turned off for the night. Then you do the same thing with your calves, and then your thighs, and then your pelvis, your abdomen, your chest, arms, neck, face, forehead. And you just feel each part of your body just tensing up and then releasing to turn off and relax for the night. Try doing that so you can fall asleep. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, medical sales is the toughest job on planet Earth for sales jobs, that is. And so you have to start taking care of your bodies and your minds from now, so you can optimize your output and throughput during the day, but B, increase longevity. You don't want to get to the end of your medical sales career and look bad and look sick, and many of you who are listening to this, I might have touched on a sensitive topic for you, and I might have just described you. That's okay. It's never too late to start, right? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this one. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for enjoying another epic episode of the State of MedTech. If you're feeling inspired and love this episode, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on so you never miss an episode. And be sure to give us 5 stars and write a short review, because that helps more people discover this amazing community of ours. If you're a company who has an executive that you'd like to be on the show, or perhaps you want to sponsor one of the episodes, shoot us an email at hello@khateebandco.com. Take care, and we'll see you next time.